What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are out here with not my Hellcat Redeye, but the good buddy Griff's Hellcat Redeye. And you guys have seen this thing on the channel a few times. Most recently, we were out at a half-mile racing event with this thing, and it was moving really well. But today we got an opportunity to come out and throw this thing on a dyno out here at BG's Proving Ground test facilities. So I've had a few of my cars out here, and I was excited, and Griff was excited to see what this thing made. Now, dynos aren't really for, comparing between multiple different, places. As a dyno, you're supposed to use it as a tool to be able to measure the vehicle's power output if you were doing modifications, tuning, and then compare that to it. So this number isn't really going to mean anything because we're here in Wichita, Kansas on this specific dyno with this specific car, but who cares? We're going to make some noise and see what kind of power this thing makes. Now, real quickly, this is a 2022 Hellcat Redeye. The Hellcat Redeye has the Dodge Demon supercharger block. It's the red block, not the orange block. Now, I've got all my specs written here on my hand. This car is 797 horsepower versus a Hellcat. A standard Hellcat would be 717. The supercharger is a 2.7 liter supercharger versus the 2.4 liter supercharger of a standard Hellcat. Correspondingly, this thing is 14.5 pounds of boost versus an 11.6 pound of boost standard Hellcat. So we're gonna get this thing strapped on the dyno. Again, make a bunch of noise and see what kind of power this is putting out at this dyno today. It's about 65-ish or so degrees out here. And again, see what we make for power. All right, guys, so we are off the dyno, and it didn't do as good as we were hoping. Looking online, these numbers are all over the place. And again, you can mess with the dyno readings, the correction factor, all of that, the axle ratio to absolutely manipulate numbers on a dyno. And again, like I talked about, the dyno numbers aren't for bragging rights. You're supposed to be using a dyno as a diagnostic tool to be able to compare changes, horsepower output, tunes, etc. So with all of that said, today we are able to make 675 horsepower and 615 foot-pounds of torque with this car on that dyno, today being 65 degrees out. Now, we were running the chiller on this Hellcat Redeye. That is the system that uses the AC to circulate, to cool the intercooler coolant temperature. So what did we determine today? Really nothing at all, because we aren't really comparing this to anything else other than this is what it made on this dyno today. And it made a lot of noise, and it was pretty darn loud in there. Like I said, this thing has this thing is bone stock, other than it has a custom catback that Griff actually personally made that has a set of Flowmaster Super 10s basically dumped down at the rear axle. So factory manifolds, factory cats, factory piping all the way back to the flange where the axle, or the catback would go. So bone stock car, and that's the power that we put out today. So I don't know, wanted to bring you guys along. It's always fun, or it's always scary going out to the dyno and seeing a car running that quickly, that much RPM, and standing just a few feet from it. You're always just kind of cringing, waiting for the worst thing to happen, and so far nothing bad has happened. So guys, thanks for coming out with, again, not my Redeye, but the good buddy Griff's Hellcat Redeye. And guys, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time. Okay guys, so this is Tyler now while editing, and I don't think I really said in the video, the buddy and I talked, and after the dyno, we both think the thing was spinning during every single run. After the first pull, in that dyno room smelled very, very strong smell of burning rubber. I went over and talked to the dyno guy, and I'm like, hey, you think the tires are spinning? And he said, no, I don't think so. You know, so we made another pull. We did, you know, 3 or 4 pulls, and every single time it smelled very strong, like you were doing a burnout. So I'm assuming that's why our numbers were lower than what we were thinking they were going to be versus other cars online. So I think the thing was spinning the tires, which, if you didn't know, spinning the tires on a dyno obviously lead to lower numbers. So I guess in the future, if we ever have that car on the dyno, we need to throw a bunch of weight in the trunk of that thing to help it, you know, get a little bit more traction or lower the tire pressure. We need to do something, or all the above, because we are like 100% sure that thing was spinning on the rollers each time. So keep that in mind. Obviously this is at the end of the video, but I think that's why our numbers were low, because the thing was spinning every single time. Our very last pull, I don't really know if you can see on camera, but there was even smoke on the last pull. So again, I'm very confident we were spinning tires. So that's why our numbers were low, and again, if we do it in the future, we'll add a little bit of weight, lower some tire pressure, and hopefully see the numbers jump.